Stay ahead of the pack. Those were the last words I remember my coach say before I made one of the biggest mistakes of my life. I was in college, and the cross-country team I was on had a race in Corpus Christi, Texas. Before the race began, I saw my childhood friend Sam. He was running for the opposing team, and we exchanged hellos before getting to our starting places. The moment before the gun went off, I remembered again what my coach said, and decided I would start strong. So when the gun went off, I ran fast. Too fast. I ran as if a wild bear was chasing me. And then it occurred to me that this was a 4-mile race. I can only imagine the disbelief and confusion of those who watched on. When I realized that no one was around me, I thought to myself, "You idiot. You can't stop or slow down now." So I convinced myself that I could, in fact, sprint 4 straight miles. I'll show them, I thought. Less than a mile into the race, I was completely exhausted, and one by one, every single runner passed me up. I came in dead last. After the race, the coach asked me, "What were you thinking?" "I was trying to stay ahead of the pack," I told him. Later, Sam told me that his entire team laughed as they asked one another, "Did you see that guy who tried to sprint the 4 miles?" That was the end of my competitive running career. I quit running for a while until shortly before my 24th birthday. I decided to run a marathon. I'm not really sure what prompted me to do this. Perhaps it was my fear of high cholesterol, or my fear that if I didn't start exercising soon, I'd end up with the reality show called My 800-Pound Life. So I spent 181 days training. On average, I ran about 30 to 40 miles a week. I like to refer to this period of my life as 6 months of purgatory. As a cultural Catholic, there was something appealing about putting my body through such pain and suffering. Maybe this experience would cleanse my soul and allow me into the kingdom of heaven. And if not, at least I'd get toned legs out of it. During my training, I asked other runners what kept them motivated during long runs, and they told me things like, "I think of my family and my friends," or "I block out all the negative of the world and let the positive energy flow through me." When I tried thinking these same thoughts, I became discouraged. And then I discovered motivation in the most unlikely of all places, George Bush Jr. I didn't glean motivations from his policies, but rather from the fact that he ran a marathon himself. If that guy could do it, I thought to myself. A week before the marathon, I attended a health and fitness expo. It was full of vendors showcasing the latest in running gear and sport apparel. I discovered that the running culture, just like Scientology and Mormonism, is, in a word, batshit crazy. I found myself surrounded by people who only ran barefoot, or others who were on a Fennel and Jerusalem artichoke diet. Who are these people? In an act of petty rebellion, I told myself that as I crossed the finish line, I would pull out a cigarette and smoke it. I ruled that out, though, when I realized the spandex shorts I'd be running in didn't have any pockets. When the marathon day arrived, I was up at 5 a.m. and joined 17,000 other people in downtown Denver. About an hour later, the race began, and in an effort not to relive my cross-country disaster, I paced myself. I saw a lot of different things throughout the race. Around mile 2, I saw a spectator holding a sign that read, "I bet you thought this was a great idea 6 months ago." Around mile 4, I witnessed a couple arguing. An exhausted man wanted to continue despite his wife's very serious concern. "There's no shame in quitting, honey," she told him. "Don't yell at me. I'm going on without you," was his response. The woman stayed behind while the man kept going. I saw a lot of people wearing in memory of t-shirts for loved ones they were running for. I also saw a woman with a shirt that read, "Running for 2." I learned that she was 6 months pregnant. Around mile 14, I heard a middle-aged man fart incredibly loud. I could tell he made no attempt at concealing what he had just done. He really let it rip. He looked at me with indifference and kept going. At mile 23, I wanted to quit. Then I saw a spectator holding a sign that read, "I don't know you, but I'm very proud of you." I did everything in my power to stop from quitting. I even told myself that if I didn't finish, George Bush Jr. would be very disappointed and would send me to Guantanamo Bay. That was enough to get me to the end. As I crossed the finish line, I waited for a moment of revelation and wisdom. I assumed enlightenment would hit me at any moment, inspiring some pithy insight about myself and the world. Instead, there was a woman who was handing out free bagels, and as I bit into one, I burst into tears. I don't think I've ever tasted anything so delicious in my life. I thought of a Salvador Dali painting I once saw at a museum that had an art critic's comments underneath that read in part, "It evokes a state of sexual anxiety." These are my exact feelings when I eat a good bagel. A week after the marathon, I was walking like Frankenstein, nursing half-dollar-sized blisters on my feet. Whenever people found out that I ran a marathon, I was constantly asked why I did it. I had asked the same question to other runners during my training. They told me things like, "I want to rediscover myself and rejuvenate my soul." My favorite response, though, was from a middle-aged woman who told me, "I'm doing it for charity, because together, we can all stand up to bullying." Now, when people ask me why I decided to run a marathon, I look deep into their eyes and pause as if I am about to impart wisdom and say, I did it for charity, because together we can all stand up to erectile dysfunction. Thank you very much.